This is a legacy fight, and it's the biggest fight in boxing right now. I let my hands go. He either grab me or move. For the bigger guy, you should have been walking me down. You should have been bullying me if I'm not supposed to be in that weight division.
The rivalry between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. seemed finished after their one-sided clash in July 2023, but new developments have sparked it back to life. During a candid chat on the Pound for Pound podcast with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, Crawford dropped some eyebrow-raising remarks that sent shockwaves across the boxing world.
We got to see. A lot of people might say, "Oh, well."
When asked about his legacy, Crawford confidently said, "I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame." It was a bold claim, but he didn't stop there. Bud doubled down, arguing that Spence's achievements weren't enough for a spot in the Boxing Hall of Fame. He brushed off his former rival's resume, saying Spence fought in only one division, never unified the belts, beat Kell Brook after a loss and an eye injury, and defeated Shawn Porter. For Crawford, Spence's legacy simply falls short of greatness, a take that instantly sparked a firestorm across social media.
Is there ever a possibility where you would rematch Errol Spence? Or is he in a position where he needs to win again?
Boxing fans, analysts, and even fellow fighters quickly jumped in, debating whether Spence truly deserves a Hall of Fame spot. Errol Spence Jr. breaks his silence and fires back at Crawford. For months, Spence stayed quiet, refusing to respond to Crawford's jabs, but that silence is now over. The former unified welterweight champion clapped back hard. Not willing to let his name be disrespected, Spence reminded Crawford and the boxing world of his accomplishments. He pointed out that he dominated the welterweight division for years, collecting major world titles one by one before their 2023 fight. Insiders close to Spence say Crawford's comments struck a nerve, and now there's serious talk about a potential comeback. With his last fight being the brutal loss to Crawford, Spence hasn't stepped back into the ring yet, but after these remarks, many believe the truth is more motivated than ever to set the record straight.
Makes sense for you.
The possibility is there.
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting for his title. I'm fighting for a title.
For months, Spence stayed quiet, refusing to respond to Crawford's jabs, but that silence is over. The former unified welterweight champion finally clapped back hard. Not willing to let his name be disrespected, Spence reminded Crawford and the boxing world of his accomplishments. He noted how he dominated the welterweight division for years, collecting major world titles one by one before their 2023 fight. Insiders close to Spence say the comments struck a nerve, and now there's serious talk about a potential comeback. With his last bout being the brutal loss to Crawford, Spence has yet to return to the ring, but after Crawford's latest remarks, many believe the truth is more motivated than ever to set the record straight.
And there's the possibility. He win his fight, God willing. I win my fight, God willing. And there's your possibility right there.
The first fight between Crawford and Spence was one of the biggest welterweight clashes of the modern era. On July 29, 2023, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Spence entered as an undefeated unified champion, but Crawford dominated from start to finish. He knocked Spence down multiple times before scoring a ninth-round knockout, becoming the first undisputed welterweight champion in the four-belt era. After the fight, Spence activated his rematch clause, but the bout never materialized. Negotiations stalled for months, and eventually, Crawford turned his attention to bigger challenges, including a mega fight against Canelo Alvarez. With tensions rising again, many are now wondering if the fight could finally be back on the table. If Spence returns stronger and moves up to 154 pounds, could he redeem himself, or would Crawford once again prove he's on another level? Even Crawford's close friend and fellow champion Shakur Stevenson disagreed with his take. When asked about Spence's Hall of Fame credentials on the Best Women's Boxing Show, Stevenson said, "I disagree. I feel Errol had a great career. If it wasn't for Bud, he would have been undisputed as he collected every belt one by one. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Went on Pound for Pound podcast and who said that Errol Spence will not be a Hall of Famer based on his record.
I disagree. Errol had a great career.
This only fueled the debate further. If Spence has the backing of boxing's rising stars, does Crawford's opinion still carry weight? While Spence may be focused on settling the score, Crawford has his sights set on an even bigger challenge: Canelo Alvarez. The Mexican superstar recently signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Riyadh Season, securing major fights under the Saudi Arabian banner. Canelo is set to face IBF super middleweight champion William Scoggin on May 3rd, and if he wins, his next fight will likely be against Crawford in September 2025. In preparation, but has already begun training with Guatemalan powerhouse Lester Martinez, who many consider the perfect sparring partner for the Canelo clash. With this monumental fight approaching, one major question remains: is Crawford fully moving past Spence, or will this renewed bad blood force him back into the ring one last time?
He would have been undisputed, so.
Is Shakur Stevenson a hater for saying that? Let me tell you what he is: a grown-ass man. If someone says that Errol Spence is...
Spence versus Crawford 2 has all the ingredients for another massive showdown, but will it actually happen? If Spence returns, will he prove the first fight was a fluke, or will Crawford show that his dominance is undeniable? And if Crawford defeats Canelo, will he cement himself as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time? The first battle between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. was a boxing masterclass from Crawford. On July 29, 2023, in front of a packed T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Bud dismantled Spence, dropping him 3 times before finishing him with a brutal 9th-round knockout. It was a fight that wasn't just decisive, it was career-defining. With the victory, Crawford became the first undisputed welterweight champion of the 4-belt era, firmly establishing himself as one of the greatest fighters of his generation. What happened after the fight was equally intriguing. Spence immediately activated his rematch clause, eager for redemption, but as months passed, negotiations stalled. Crawford showed little interest in running it back and instead began exploring bigger fights, most notably a potential showdown with Canelo Alvarez.
It doesn't mean that they're dissing your Bud. When someone calls Errol Spence a Hall of Famer and great, they're giving love to Bud for whipping his ass.
For a while, it seemed like the rematch was dead. But with Crawford's recent controversial Hall of Fame comments and Spence finally breaking his silence, everything has changed. The bad blood is back, and the question on everyone's mind is, will Spence and Crawford step into the ring one more time? If a rematch happens, it likely won't be at welterweight, 147 pounds. After struggling with the weight cut for years, Spence has long hinted at moving up to 154 pounds, a division where he believes he'll be stronger and more durable. This raises an interesting question. Could fighting at 154 pounds make Spence more dangerous? Or will Crawford's skill, precision, and fight IQ still be too much for him? One major argument in Spence's favor is that he wasn't at his best in their first fight. Leading up to the bout, Spence reportedly struggled with weight cuts and physical issues. His punch resistance seemed diminished, and he lacked the sharpness that made him such a dominant champion. At 154 pounds, a healthier and stronger Spence might have a better chance. But would it be enough to overcome Crawford's undeniable skill gap? This debate is raging across the boxing world. Many believe Spence deserves another shot at Crawford at his ideal weight. But is Crawford even interested? Adding another twist, WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson, one of Crawford's closest friends, surprisingly came to Spence's defense. When asked about Crawford's Hall of Fame comments during an interview with the Best Women's Boxing Show, Stevenson strongly disagreed with Bud's take. I disagree. I feel as though Errol had a great career. If it wasn't for Bud, he would have been undisputed, collecting every belt one by one. I think he's a Hall of Famer. For Stevenson to go against Crawford, someone he considers a close friend, says a lot. It shows that even within Crawford's own circle, there are those who believe he's being unfair towards Spence. This only fuels the discussion. Is Crawford underestimating Spence's legacy? Or is this just a classic case of one fighter trying to keep another's name out of the history books?
Hey, I'm going to say it again. Everybody needs to get off of that rematch. Nobody wants to see that shit.
Which rematch?
He don't deserve no rematch. He got whooped.
While Spence is focused on redemption, Crawford has his sights set on an even bigger fight, Canelo Alvarez. The Mexican superstar recently signed a massive deal with Riyadh Season, securing fights under Saudi Arabia's banner. His next opponent is IBF super middleweight champion William Scotland, whom he'll face on May 3rd in Saudi Arabia. If Canelo wins, the next fight on the table would likely be Crawford versus Canelo in September 2025, a matchup that could be one of the biggest crossover fights in modern boxing. Crawford isn't waiting around. He's already preparing for Canelo's size and power by sparring with Guatemalan power puncher Lester Martinez, who has a similar build and fighting style. This raises an important question. Does Crawford see Spence as yesterday's news? Is he completely focused on moving up and chasing an even bigger payday? If so, Spence may have missed his window for a rematch. With all the trash talk, debate, and controversy, is Spence versus Crawford 2 actually happening? Or is this just unfinished business that will never be settled?
Crawford and Spence.
Yeah. I mean, the Spence fans.
Spence?
Spence fans, they hold it
Yeah, I know
out.
it.
They believe, they man could get it back.
Yeah, well, that's what makes a fan. So they can hope all they want. I don't want to see it, but we'll.
On one hand, Spence wants revenge. On the other, Crawford seems to be looking past him. If they do fight again, will a stronger Spence shock the world? Or will Crawford once again prove he's on another level compared to his longtime rival? And if Crawford moves past Spence and defeats Canelo, could he cement himself as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time? One thing is certain, the drama isn't over. What do you think? Will Spence get his rematch, or is Crawford done with him for good? Let us know in the comments. For the best updates on boxing news, moments, events, and action, subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss quality content. And check out our other videos. Until next time, peace out.